Hello, hello. Welcome to the channel.
What's going on?
Okay. It is July 9th,
What do we
and
got?
today it is the Philosopher King. Let's do it. You would think that Marcus Aurelius would have the quote for today, the Philosopher King, but it is not. It is Musonius Rufus, which if I were a better Stoic student, I would know who he was and where he fit into the whole.
I've heard the name, but I don't like.
There's been some quotes. I'm thumbing through this as if I'm just gonna see one.
That's not as important as the quote itself. I'd say that.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. I'll go with you.
It's so funny, right? Like a lot of times, like people say things like, "Well, you can't pronounce these names, or you can't really." If you don't know the dates of where these people live, then you don't know about anything, right? And it's like so funny how like the other day there was the quote like actually don't care about the dates, like that's not the important part. It's like the quote is the important part and the meaning of it and what to take from it or something.
Sure, yeah. The dates are, yeah. I mean, the dates
Dates are nice.
Well,
they're
the dates
nice. I'm interested.
are useful in so much as I understand like the story that the person was living through in that date period, and that's
sure.
like that's where everything goes fuzzy.
I'm not dissing dates. I'm just saying they're not that important.
It's just like I feel weird sitting here like not being an expert in this area, just being like, oh, let me be the one to talk about this shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me be the one to talk about this shit. Musonius Rufus says, "For I believe a good king is from the outset." I'm sorry, let me start over. Should we just start this whole day over?
I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
Unless you have a time machine.
"For I believe a good king is from the outset, and by necessity a philosopher. And the philosopher is from the outset a kingly person." Got it. "For I believe a good king is from the outset and by necessity a philosopher, and the philosopher is from the outset a kingly person." Okay, so philosopher is somebody who investigates how things are and then tries to live in accordance with how things are rather than how things seem to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my working definition today. And then he says a kingly person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so interesting because I never think about king as like an adjective for just a person, like like an archetype. Like there's the archetype of the king. So like a good king.
You might say leader, maybe?
Yeah, it's like somebody who like can see clearly everybody's story that he's attached to, and he's like making decisions that are in the best interest of the whole collective. And he has the power to make those decisions, so in order to do that well, he has to be very steady, he has to be calm, he has to be like above his own like selfish needs to have the most or show off the most or consume the most.
Yeah. And how does a king get to these qualities? Through becoming interested in philosophy.
And hence, a good king is by necessity a philosopher.
And the philosopher maybe is not a king, but by philosophy and living through philosophy becomes like a leader, right?
Okay, so he
like
becomes a kingly person is somebody that other people want to follow. Which is sometimes better than being a king, because a king is assigned their subjects and the subjects just have to deal with it.
Right. Well, king by being born to it versus being, somehow chosen to it or something, which most of them probably were all just family related stuff, promotions, right? So yeah, so kings not necessarily were philosophers, but if you wanted to be a good king, then and stay in being a king, they had to go into philosophy.
I don't think you had to. Becoming a philosopher helped you stay a king. I think there's plenty of kings that lived and died who were bad kings, who were not philosophers.
Yes, but they were not necessarily liked.
Right, they were not good kings.
They
like
were
a
not
good
good
king
kings. Yeah.
is a philosopher.
That's right. There you go. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay.
We're on the right path.
Let's do Ryan. He says, the Israeli general Herzl Halevi believes that philosophy is essential in his role as a leader and warrior. People used to tell me that business administration is for the practical life and philosophy is for the spirit, he said. Through the years, I found it exactly the opposite. I used philosophy much more practically. War and leadership offer an unending series of ethical decisions that require priorities, balance, and clarity. That's what philosophy helps with. Plato knew this when he imagined a utopia ruled by a philosopher king. Either philosophers should become kings, he said in the Republic, or those now called kings should truly and sufficiently undertake philosophy. Marcus Aurelius was quite literally that philosopher king.
Mm-hmm.
What does that have to do with you? There are fewer kings these days, but we're all leaders in one way or another. Of families, of companies, of a team, of an audience, of a group of friends, of ourselves. It's the study of philosophy that cultivates our reason and ethics so that we can do our job well. We can't just wing it. Too many people are counting on us to do it right.
Yeah.
Philosophy is very practical. It's practical in a very, in a way that sometimes I don't catch.
Right before you read Ryan, I said we're on the right path. And I was like, how do I know that? And I was like, somehow I know that or something. There's this weird thing in there. And then you read this and it's like almost like exactly what we were talking about.
So confirmed.
Yeah, it's like confirmed from that, yeah.
Yeah.
What a cool.
Yeah, it's like an
experience.
interesting thing that like I would never talk to anybody about it at work or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like almost every decision or like when I land on like, you know, sometimes I'll have a point of view that doesn't really make sense or it's inflamed because it's emotional or whatever. But like it's always the philosophy that sort of like guides me through the cycle of, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Should I want to do this. Should I do that?
Yeah.
Should I not do that?
Even like part of logic is kind of philosophy, right? Like you checking with something out there that it, you know, if this makes sense.
Yeah, because logic is, does this make
yeah.
sense? Does all of this add up together to create this? That's nice. That's nice to like have the ROI of spirituality or philosophy kind of talked about in this way, because sometimes it just feels like extra, or it feels like this fruity thing that new age inclined people do on the side. That feels kind of illegitimate. So it's always nice to like feel it like legitimize in my body, you know, like yes, like there's some this is practical.
Yeah, I think this helps me the most with actually the organization of like my stuff, like being more organized, being more disciplined, be like all of that. Actually thinking like philosophy is this fluffy thing that only gets you to think about how things work or something, right? But then you stumble upon this like, oh my God, I have this problem. I'm so like, I can't organize myself somehow. It's hard to put, all of that into some nice spreadsheet that my whole life exists in some place, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but this helps me with that because it's the discipline of doing it every day. And then now it's like, oh, slowly I see it existing in one place in the way that the most important things are captured someplace,
Yeah, so maybe it's like it's like a tool that helps you diagnose areas
Mhm.
where like you have deficiencies.
Yeah, and I learned it from essentially these type of books, and it's great. So it is not just the fluffy thing. You can actually apply it to life where it actually turns into something that's actually like, wow, I got a result that I wanted
Yeah.
from it. So great. Cool.
Nicely done. All right, that was July. What's its butt? And tomorrow we'll talk about July. What's her knee? See you then.